This video will take you on a tour of a sample infection and how it can be prevented. IBM closely follows the National Institute for Standards and Technology, or NIST, for cyber resilience. In this video, we will show you each of the phases and how IBM can help ensure you and your business are not the next cyber victims. This slide shows how IBM CyberVault can dramatically reduce not only the detection time, but most importantly, rapidly help with recovery and resumption of critical business operations. Pay close attention to the check graph in dark blue, with its more rapid response and resolution. In the coming moments, this video will show each of these key elements on live systems. Our story starts with Scott, an administrator at Bain & Ox. Scott comes into work on Monday as normal, but today, when he first logs in, he has a message he has not seen before, and it's demanding a ransom to unlock all their corporate data that has been encrypted. Scott immediately tries to restore data from backups, only to discover they are also encrypted, and so has no way to recover. On further inspection, they discover the attack began the previous week and had spread over the weekend to the large majority of the company's application data. To recover from this type of situation takes on average 23 days, but can even take months. Scott did not have IBM's ransomware solution in place, and so Bain & Ox have to pay the ransom demand, currently averaging $5.4 million, or face irrevocable damage to the business. We will now see how fast an infection can easily take over a single workstation, and if it were not for many safeguards, would quickly spread with tremendous damage. This example will show how ransomware, once downloaded, will try to encrypt every file and folder and leave a ransom note. It does this in a matter of seconds and is shown in real-time speed. Imagine how this would be inside your own environment. Here we have VMware ESX running a Windows 2019 server, which we will then infect. This Windows server is using a flash system array for its data store, which is 4 terabytes. Let's log in now to this Windows 2019 server. We see the normal directory structure and files that are not encrypted. Now it's time for us to remove all network connections to fully isolate this server to contain the infection. Inside VMware, we will literally disconnect the guest VM from all network access. Back inside the Windows server, we will try a simple ping test to verify that it can no longer reach any outside host. Let's turn our attention to how easy and fast malware works by infecting this Windows 2019 server. As we manually unzip this dangerous file, we will see how fast it works. Here is a quick view of its stats before the infection. Just by changing the extension, it has begun to infect this Windows server. The CPU and disk spikes as it goes to each folder and encrypts the contents. The lock file extension shows the file encrypted instead of its normal extension. The lock file malware uses more RAM as it accelerates its encryption efforts. It would also be consuming vast network resources if we had not turned them off. You can see the ransom notes on the desktop and inside the folders. Here is one example. And just like that, all the files are encrypted. Some may recall a classic video game which had a similar message: the end. Game over. By contrast, ABBYY implemented IBM's security and storage solution for ransomware, and can rest easy at night and over weekends, as the vast majority of attacks are stopped before they can have a negative business impact. However, Even with protections in place, 100% prevention is not possible, so organizations must be prepared to respond and respond quickly. With this in mind, immutable copies of data are also taken at regular intervals on the primary storage systems, thus ensuring there are copies of data that cannot be encrypted after they are taken, thus ensuring recovery point and recovery time objectives are kept as low as possible. Over the weekend, Abby is alerted to a possible ransomware attack having impacted a critical application. Fortunately for Abby, as soon as the threat was detected, the IBM Security QRadar used automation and orchestration to isolate the impacted servers and prevented the threat from becoming pervasive or spreading to any other systems. QRadar also activated IBM Storage to create an up-to-date set of immutable copies for all critical applications for extra protection. IBM strongly recommends a good SIEM such as QRadar for threat detection, which can then automatically take many immediate actions, including taking safeguarded copies and actually isolating from the infection spreading. Let's explore detection a bit further. Using IBM's Guardium, QRadar, as well as CyberSense, they use artificial intelligence to monitor systems and applications and look for early threats. IBM Guardium investigates databases and file systems for rogue or malicious actions as well as actors. It can also be used for configuration management to ensure best practices for your databases and table sets, including looking out for malicious data inside the database itself, as well as on the file system. Index Engine's CyberSense can also actively scan for malicious file actions. It will send emails with its results. Whilst the IBM security software invokes other tools to eradicate the ransomware from the infected systems, in parallel, IBM CyberVault starts the process of recovering copies of the affected application to an isolated environment. Here we see our Windows Server volume as part of a safeguarded copy policy. We can also see how often the policy takes and keeps immutable snapshots. We can then use Copy Services Manager to recover this volume to a test server for validation, or directly restore back to the original server. After selecting our snapshot, we recover it to test and validate its contents. We now see that this snapshot is before the infection and can be used to restore production. Our files and folders are back to normal with normal files, which are not encrypted with the lock file extension or ransom demands. Once this has been identified, it is restored to production, ensuring it's back up and running super fast. Because Abby had IBM's solution for ransomware, the threat was detected faster, enabling her to respond and recover the data faster. So from point of detection to having the critical application back took just 2 to 3 hours and ensured no ransom had to be paid. Don't be like Scott, be smart like Abby, and get IBM's security and storage ransomware solution today, before you become the next victim of a ransomware attack. Ask about IBM's Zero Trust Framing and Discovery Workshop, or even the Cyber Resiliency Assessment, and see how IBM can help you address your cyber attack weaknesses.